I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mami Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary. Great Mother speaks directly to her children most alienated from her due to our birth mother experience. I know a lot of people have mama drama trauma, but few have the gall to admit it. Congratulations. You are of a rare human breed who has chosen to admit you suffer from a condition in which your mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto you, causing emotional and or physical trauma. MDT acknowledgement is not about blame or shame of self or our mothers, but about embracing the comforter, your intuition, that still small voice of the Holy Spirit within us to heal. What does this have to do with astrology? Mama Drama Trauma is a soul contract between two souls who love each other deeply enough to insist upon mutual evolution in self-love and spiritual independence. Self-love through abandonment and or abuse, and spiritual independence through genuine discovery of the mother of all mothers. This eclipse season, discovery meets healing work. Since May of last year until November this year, the stars are aligning to wring out our whining tears. It features Great Mother Father energies with Leo in the North Node in tropical astrology and Cancer and Rahu in Vedic astrology. They kicked off this transit with an eclipse that the world stopped to watch in August. And now, a year later, they've come to the finish line with an energy that says, we are not playing. Eclipses are powerful planetary yin, responsive, yang, responsible catalysts. As a result, here are a few recurrent emotions that may have intensified for you over the last year. I am or I am not responsible for the way my mother neglected or ignored me. I am or am not responsible for the way she made me feel unloved or unlovable. I am or am not responsible for her cruel or thoughtless teasing. I am or am not responsible for the bad names she called me. I am or am not responsible for her unhappiness. I am or am not responsible for her problems. I am or am not responsible for her choice not to do anything about her problems. I am or am not responsible for her drinking and or her being on drugs. I am or am not responsible for what she did when she was drinking and or on drugs. I am or am not responsible for her hitting me, or I am or am not responsible for her molesting me. People who admit they have MDT are on another level of consciousness and self-awareness. On the one hand, you may have noticed a pull toward more compassion, while on the other, a dogged determination to allow yourself to emerge as your true self beyond the emotional bondage of MDT. Your Vedic Jyotish sidereal moon sign and nodal axes indicates the nature of the soul and what the ego's intuitive response may be to its evolutionary journey. With Cancer and Rahu ruled by the moon, unconditional love, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes symbolizing the divine law of eternal grace and mercy. The mother, the anima, your soul sign, the Vedic omniscient cosmic orientation, emphasize where greater awareness is needed around impulsive action, reaction to MDT. and choosing your response. Don't let mistakes dissuade or discourage you. Remember, you are breaking a cycle that did not begin with you. So you are learning and doing a damn good job of it. In addition to it just being hard work, it doesn't feel like you're doing so great because, on the other hand, with Leo in the North Node ruled by the Sun, the word, the logo symbolizing the divine law of divine order or worldly justice, the Father, the animus or your earth sign, Western earth centric, your Western moon sign and nodal axis indicates the emotional state of your soul while in your present body, your egoic reaction to these feelings, which is now culminating into feelings perhaps of revenge, scatteredness, and confusion around reverting back to old behaviors you thought you had overcome or have been in the process of changing, now suddenly self-abandoning what has been a difficult and burdensome uphill battle. Time to delete the default buttons: blame, shame, and denial. The final eclipses of 2018 will force us to stoically face and release our MDT guilt, fear, sadness, and rage, like the big boys and girls, gods and goddesses, Great Mother, Father, God, know we are and came here to be. Enjoy your June-August eclipse readings. Get what you need from them and use them as a reference guide when you lose your way. Let's look at what's setting up the energy for this eclipse cycle for you in the full moon on June 28th. And after we take a look at that, let's look at where that energy is taking you, where Great Mother is saying this energy is supporting you and encouraging your growth, which we'll see come forth in the partial solar eclipse on the 12th of July. And then we will explore what is coming up to be cleansed, to be purged, to be reset in your life during the total lunar eclipse on July 27th, and kind of see what the fallout is from that in the partial solar eclipse on August 11th, and go until the end of September on the 24th, when there is a final kind of a purge. Now, the effects of eclipses can be felt 6 months to, I've heard, 18 months. On average, in your life, you see effects, you're really feeling it intensely in about the year kind of milieu there, just kind of in there. And so think of this reading as a preview of your next year. You will be receiving your Lunar New Year readings in the Virgo new moon. But because you are Leo Virgo, your intuitive sense is ruled by the sun, which of course is activating the eclipses with the moon. And so depending on really kind of where your actual houses are is how this reading is going to affect you. But I am going to let you know what Great Mother is speaking to your general collective unconsciousness as a group. The full moon on June 28th is in your 5th house. This is all about creativity coming to the fore as it is being reflected by a sun in your 11th house. And so rebirth is showing us that for you, friends, fun, and how you have valued them is probably going to change in your everyday life. So your working life, your co-workers, people, just ordinary people who are your friends in your life, you're going to experience some type of intense emotional change with regard to how you are relating to them. There's something new coming in terms of what you value about them or what you are valuing less with regard to your relationship to them. Some of you may have friends who are pregnant, and that's some news that you get, or adopting a child, or wanting to just share with you how their journey their as a parent is changing, how it's evolving perhaps, and maybe that is a value that's changing. Maybe a friend who prior to now didn't have a child and you have a child, and now that's something that you can share, a value in life, so to speak, that you can both share. It's a rebirthing. It's a rebirthing that is really shining a light on just how you are relating to people in your close groups, your networks. Maybe you are involved in social media to a degree that you really have been working on your public image, or this full moon is bringing to 4 ways in which to do that and express yourself in a way that really honors who you are and to enjoy doing that. So it's a time of sacrificing something that is in the past that cannot serve you going forward as it relates to your everyday working life. Sometimes, we have things that are just hanging around our offices or our workspaces that we don't use, but we used to use it a lot. And so we just keep that stapler there. We don't staple papers anymore, but we've always had a stapler, and so that stapler stays there because you never know, you might need a stapler. And this energy, this full moon energy for you is calling up a rebirth, really, of your divine expression and inviting you to allow your life to reflect what that is for you now. The axis here is the throat chakra and the balsamic moon. So it's really, you're going to fully feel that there's a need for you to move ahead with your intentions as it relates to your friends and how you are presenting yourself in your associations with groups and that sort of thing. Maybe with your church, maybe with your sorority, your fraternity, after school group. It could be a girlfriend's group. It could be a book reading club. It could be anything. It could be the guys that hang out. But you're at a point where you're willing to accept what your intention is for connecting with people. It's changed, in other words. By this full moon, you will actually feel that the way that you want to connect with people is new. You are not wanting to engage in any extra drama, any extra rageful behavior that may have been a part of your past, and maybe it didn't bother you before, but now it is. And because of perhaps your internal work that you've been doing with Mama Drama Trauma, you're realizing that this is not something that I want to be a part of my life anymore. And this is part of this whole discovery transforming into your healing work. You're really moving in that direction in earnest this full moon in June. So that sets up this entire third quarter eclipse cycle for you. And this rebirth segues into the partial solar eclipse on the 12th of July. So about 2 weeks later, the shadows are going to come out of really what it is in particular that you are wanting to pinpoint in terms of shortcomings that your friends may have, shortcomings that they may indulge in that doesn't allow you to be as healthy or as happy as you could be. Maybe you have changed your diet. You've been on this healing journey and they haven't. And you're realizing that you really do need to be around people who are eating like you, who are sharing the same kind of diet that you're sharing. And maybe those people who always invited you, for example, to hang out after workout at the gym, you've always said, no, I got to do this, I got to do that. But now you're kind of realizing, that's a shadow in my life. I've had this veil that I really haven't seen what's available to me. And what the birth mother card is saying to you is that, hey, there is an opportunity here to see these shortcomings, or to just be aware of them within yourself, and see where you can come up in those areas that are not being nourished in your life at this time. This new moon is in Gemini Cancer. Of course, new moons share the signs, and so they are both in Gemini and the sidereal, and both in Cancer in the Western. And so we can look at the nakshatra that the sun is in, this July new moon. That's the run-up to the total lunar eclipse, and we can see that the sun is in the nakshatra of Purnavasu. Now, why is that important when we're talking about a new moon? We don't see the new moon, but of course in Vedic astrology, it's a cosmic astrology, and so it's not always about what we see. In fact, what is most important many times, often it's a lunar astrology, is what we don't see. And what we're not going to see in our physical egoic eyes is that what is being nourished is a sense of honoring, recognizing our instincts, our ability to succeed once we have made determined attempts to do so. We will intuit kind of a resilience, a regenerative sense of ourselves, and ability to recognize that you do have the power to choose your associations, even if it is in a difficult dynamic such as work, and it may be political for you to switch associations, for example, in a workplace situation. Many times those are very political relationships, but again, you're realizing maybe just the energy is not what you want, it's too negative, or you really want to enjoy work a little bit more, and you want to hang out with people who are a little bit more lighthearted. That is being kind of cultivated. So we have the nourishment that the sun is giving the sun, that the sun is giving the moon, and the moon is cultivating in the nakshatra of Ardra. And Ardra is about sacrifice. We have sacrifice here again, and it can be impulsive. And so that's why it's important to look at the nakshatras here, because even though the moon may want to quickly make an adjudication in this situation, the sun is really wanting to be sure that it's going to honor what your true heart wants, what you truly want in your heart. And that's what the birth mother card is really about. It's about really recognizing that you have soulmates around you at all times. We incarnate together as soul groups, but we may not always be in the actual blood tribal line. Many times people find their actual chosen family to be much closer than their blood birth family. And why is that? Because we have groups of souls around us all the time for different purposes. You might reflect on your life and notice that at certain times in your life, you've had close friends. Maybe you sang in the choir at school, or you were in a baseball team, or you were in a chess club, or you had a pen pal, or whatever. And there were very, very close relationships. Well, these are also soulmate relationships. And a lot of times we might feel that our needs are not getting met. And that doesn't mean that the person or the situation doesn't have value. It just means that for where we are in our life at this particular time, it's hard to assess what that value is, and it's best just to let things be. It's best just to let them go on with their lives and for us to go on and find where our fulfillment lies. So the July new moon will invite you to make wishes that will assist you with that clarity, that will assist you with Virgo. Of course, the new moon in July is in Cancer. And so, again, this is 11th house energy. And for you, Cancer new moon wishes may have to do with maybe if you are having this situation at home as it relates to the upkeep of your home or with your mother in particular. This is pointing to the mother. I don't always like to jump to that to do every reading, but now that we're talking about new moon wishes in July and the new moon being in Cancer, this would perhaps indicate that there is definitely a rebirth going on with your mama trauma, and that your relationship with your mother has changed. It is not serving you anymore. For you to see it the way you have seen it in the past. Yes, like those examples, being in the choir, chess group, etc. There were good times and there's good intent and there is love there. But soulmates are here with us and we with them to assist in mutual evolution. And so you're at a point of evolving in self-love and spiritual independence that's requiring you, as indicated by this root chakra crescent moon card, for you to accept that there is a need for you to take care of yourself. She's unable to cater to your needs at this particular time. And this may be reverberating throughout your life and relationships that you have with your friends and in your workplace. That's the connection. At work, you may also be experiencing the same type of things. In other words, in the past, where you may have unconsciously been having challenges with your mother, you've been able to find refuge elsewhere in other relationships. Now, it's important, whether those relationships were at work or girlfriends or whatever, or other mothers, as they're called, surrogate mothers, aunties, grandmothers, people that also help raise us and that love us. If you've been able to find refuge in those situations, now you may really have a sense of dissatisfaction, just maternal dissatisfaction in general, and a frustration with these groups of friends. Some of you may actually be reborn in how you are relating to people at this particular time. And even though you may be maternally dissatisfied, because you are doing your conscious work, you're actually asserting your boundaries. Some of you're at a point where you're actually saying, ouch, this hurts, this is uncomfortable, and you really are asserting your boundaries. And so you're not pretending anymore. You're not just kind of coming to this awareness. Some of you are already there with this birth mother card, as we see with the root chakra here. You have been recognizing that you're ungrounded for a while, and your divine expression, starting this off, really has to do with the full moon in June, that you are expressing that awareness at this time. Others are just kind of coming into this realization. Either way, by the total lunar eclipse at the end of July, which is the July full moon, lunar eclipses are full moons, solar eclipses are new moons. This full moon in July, when the sun totally eclipses the moon, you're really wanting to break loose. You're really wanting to cut off the relationship. You're ready to vamp. You're ready to do something else. You're ready to break loose from the unhealthy ties that bind, and all of the routines that reflect this toxic relationship, be they reflected at work, be they reflected in, again, those groups, whatever. You're just ready to really let it go. This moon is in your 6th house, and so work is coming up quite a bit. The sun is in your 12th house, and so it's shining a light on you really needing some time to yourself. You really needing some time alone. And Pachamama speaks to that. This is the Earth Mother card. It's summer. It's time for you to get out and to get into some forest, trees, the fairies, the sea, to nurture you, to really, really allow yourself to connect with Gaia, with Earth Mother, because you need to leave. You need to leave, at least to catch your breath, at least to let the drama simmer down, and for the triggers to just kind of calm down. There's been quite a bit of reflection here, but what you're really wanting to do is just heed the call of Mother Nature during this total lunar eclipse. I cannot express that enough. You're going to get a watershed. You may even cry a lot. It's going to be very cleansing. It's going to completely reset you. It's going to give you a sense of yourself. You really haven't had a sense of yourself in a long time. And you're going to feel like places that you haven't been nourished are places that you've been looking to get that nourishment from your service to other people, from the work that you do, and how you've set up your life, your daily routines. And you're going to realize in this total lunar eclipse that you really have to bring it home. You're really going to have to bring it home to yourself. And being out in nature, you're going to amplify the energy of the support that's available to you, and you're going to be able to more effectively download the ways in which you can be more supportive of yourself. In other words, not outsourcing your nurturing to other people. And there's a little bit of that going on here. That is really needing to be wrung out, and is a part of your healing discovery. That's what I'm seeing that Great Mother is saying for you. Now, it's a huge watershed, and so I really want you to kind of prepare for that, knowing that this moon in Capricorn Aquarius is a South Node moon, okay? And so it's either you kind of feeling like you are, digging your heels in the sand and saying, hey, this is just the way it's been, and so this is going to be my Pachamama. I'm going to reground myself in what I know. But I'm really feeling that this eclipse is going to be such that you are going to recognize that that's futile. And so you'll be successful. This nakshatra, Uttarashada, is it's all about, unchallenged victory. You actually having a very strong willpower forbearance, righteousness. I'm getting this regenerative ability. You're regenerating yourself. So it's not like you don't know how to take care of yourself, but what's important for you is, particularly with regard to mama drama trauma, is that becomes more of a focus for you. Now I see that following that full moon, that total lunar eclipse, when all of that comes to the surface, the need to leave a bad situation, to give yourself a breather, that by the new moon in August, about 2 weeks after that, there's a partial solar eclipse, the last eclipse of this eclipse season on the 11th, and it's partial in your 12th house. And so you may be feeling alienated, you may be feeling isolated, but with this Sophia energy, what you're really going to be feeling is that you're back in balance emotionally, and that you're building on your own foundation of security now, on what you need, and what, based on what you have reflected on. So by working with what Great Mother has shared with you, and doing the Pachamama, and allowing yourself to receive the downloads for how you need to take care of yourself, there'll be a very strong inner knowing. And this Uttara Shaddai shows up again with Mars. Now, Mars is retrograde until the 27th of August, but it shows up in this nakshatra after it's been in Shravana since about May. And again, this Uttara Shaddai is about victory. And so Mars, even though it's retrograde in Aquarius in the West, and Capricorn and the Vedic. And so this South Node power to release, and you having this 12th house energy, this on August 11th for you is going to be a preview for what the next eclipse season is going to possibly be about. It's going to be about trusting your inner wisdom. It's going to be about standing on your own and trusting your inner voice, your own wisdom. This is something that Great Mother is really making clear here by talking about the energy of Sophia, because Sophia is really about trusting which way to go, as we see here with the scarecrow. Now, the choice before you is purely cosmetic. So whether you emotionally detach from your mother in toxic relationships and situations, or you fully emotionally and physically detach for a period, go away so that you can find yourself. Either way, you're going to get home. Either way, you're going to find your way home. It's just a matter of what path you want to follow. The yellow brick road is a gut path. It's the gut chakra path, and it leads through the heart chakra up to, intuition. And so as you do that, you're going to discover things about yourself. You're going to be integrating. There's going to be a year of integrating the emotional lessons of this eclipse season, basically. So look forward to that August 11th. You're going to experience perhaps a great deal of highs and lows. And again, new moons are in the same sign. So the moon and the sun are both in Cancer in the sidereal, which is the north node, and in Leo, which is the north node in the western. It's called Rahu in the sidereal astrology, and the nakshatra is Eshlesha. And so on an intuitive level, you may sense that the decisions that you've come to, the wisdom that you've garnered from your experience, is all wrong. And you might feel that you are going into a tailspin around this time. But that's only because this nakshatra carries with it a energy of real kind of emotional instability. It can be a kind of a dangerous energy when it comes to being entangled and entwined in highly emotional situations as this. And so be aware that on August 11th, what's happening is that you're pulling the shadows from your wisdom. So, what it is that you know about what needs to be reborn within yourself in order for you to trust your wisdom. What is it that needs to be reborn? A sense of confidence, a sense of not being codependent, of needing approval from others. What is it that needs to be sacrificed in order for that to happen in your life? It's really kind of getting into the nitty gritty of that. And as you pull those shadows out, that's the kind of empowered approach to this energy, as opposed to allowing the energy to make you emotionally unstable. You, in other words, approach the energy emotionally aware that you're going through a challenging time, and that this energy will allow you to really surgically go through your emotions and pull out what needs to be worked on, and allow that new moon to support the intentions that you have going forward, because this is a new moon card, and this is the August new moon on the 11th. And so Sophia is saying that you are beginning to live in loving detachment, you're being reborn, and you're reflecting on what you've learned from your MD experience. And it's an auspicious time to plant new seeds of intention for your life moving forward. Moving forward into the August full moon on August 27th, when Mars goes direct in Uttarashada, you will have this Adi Shakti energy. Now, Adi Shakti is the Hindu goddess of energy. She is the primordial feminine energy. And this is what you will more than likely be feeling to a large extent. And the energy is available because of what you've released, because of what you've sacrificed. And you're asserting your feelings about how you now want to interact with others. You are very clear about who you are in relationship to others at work and in your personal life. You have the clarity that you thought would never come. This is for you. Clarity cometh. It's a clarity cometh moment for you. You have let go of those codependencies, those behaviors of needing approval, and those things that are cultivated in order for us to feel love, in order for us to feel connected. Many times we create situations for us to substitute the love that we don't receive. And so again, MDT is a cycle, and it's pretty unhealthy, but it's hard to let go as well, because it's all that we know, and it's how we know how to relate to others. But what I'm seeing here with you is that by this August full moon in Aquarius, you're ready to go. I mean, this is in Dasnishta Nakshatra, ruled by Mars, and Mars is now direct. I'm sorry, that's the August full moon. Yeah, it's very powerful time as you work with these energies. You've done all that you can do at this point, in other words. And so all that's really left for you to do is to open up and receive direction from your unconscious mind, as we see Dorothy here in the Twister dream. That's when she has realized, or was forced to, as eclipse seasons force us to do, and eclipses specifically, to just work with the energy. There's nothing else that we can do. It's coming down to take care of the rest. So with our solar eclipses like we had a year ago, August 21st, the one the world stopped to watch, we had a pulling up, a pulling out of the shadows. The moon covered the sun, and so we had the shadows were released upon the continent, and we have certainly seen our shadows come up. Issues that we thought that as a nation we had dealt with and healed, and et cetera, including mama drama trauma, have come up for all to see. And the lunar eclipses are the purge, it's the cleaning up of what has been brought up. So we had one at the end of January, and we're being followed up with this total lunar eclipse here in July, with a partial solar in the interim in February, and two now in this reading. So very powerful, one after the other. And now, after those three eclipses, you are in your August full moon, asserting really who you are and how you feel. Now, September's new moon on the 9th, you're really moving into really asserting your new values. You have a new way of thinking. You are hanging out with that group after you go to the gym, for example. You have transitioned into living a life of emotional detachment. You have done some coaching work. You have done a lot of reading on how to approach, how to have those healthy conversations, as opposed to creating more drama and resistance that further digs the heels into MDT. And this eclipse season is really about pulling the heels out of the sand. And so there's a lot of resistance to that. If we don't know any other way to go, and we've been riding on this Leo North Node for a year, it can be very challenging. But for you, I see that by the beginning of September, even though the energies are still really intense, and they are for you too, with Ishel, you are fully in this place of self-recreation. You really are in this place of recognizing that it's not so much what other people think. It's not so much how other people perceive you, or even how you have judged yourself in the past. It's really about self-healing, and you know that that's a journey. You recognize that that's a process, just as we see Dorothy with Aunt Em in this card that Professor Marvel pulled out of her picnic basket to give her a reading, quote unquote, about someone who loved her and missed her. Now, you know that there are some challenges with perhaps being away from your mother or being a little bit more distant, but you've also received the benefits. Now you know that if you can emotionally detach from your mother enough to establish boundaries, that you certainly can do the same in a toxic work environment. Again, our work relationships, our personal relationships reflect the relationships established and we were conditioned by growing up. So Ishel is talking about the forces affecting your life, you becoming conscious that through your assertion of yourself and in the face of physical or emotional offense, you don't allow what has diminished your sense of self in the past to persist any longer. And for that, you should be very proud of yourself. Great Mother is saying. You should be very proud of yourself. We are dearly loved divine children of the great Mother, Father, God, truly gods and goddesses as we were created. That's how we're seen. We're not seen as weak, as vulnerable, as victims. We have protection, angels, guides, and ancestors. We have forgotten who we are. We're under this veil. And experiences such as MDT are invitations to strip the veil and to see the truth of who we are again. The purpose of the illusion is to build us in strength and resilience. And we get to choose how we do that, And so this is just one of countless paths, but by listening and working with Great Mother energies, and as we see with the September new moon in your sign of Virgo, the Lunar New Year readings that will be coming up for you will no doubt be addressing this new sense of self for you. Absolutely. So that by the full moon in September on the 24th, in Aquarius, 7th, 6th house energies again for you, you are fully coming around to not only the assertion of yourself and of your values, but really dealing with the shadow side of that as well as it relates to owning your beauty. Only when we get to a place where we can really take our own power back are we really able to balance those values with our daily personal and professional relationships. This is when the rubber hits the road, right? And so what Great Mother is saying needs to be let go of is anything that's still remaining. That's why we're going, a month after the eclipses. The effects of the eclipses last long after. But we're going just a month after here with the third quarter of the year. We do quarterly lunar reports. And so this is the third quarter report in effect, ending on the full moon in September for you in your 7th and 6th houses, where you have the sun reflecting this moon in your second house in Virgo Libra. And so you have these values that are reflected and reflecting the relationships that you now have in ways that truly honor you in your real-time daily life. This is absolutely wonderful. Great Mother is saying that to really recognize this, you're going to have to own your power. You're going to have to take your power back. So in any place in your life where there still seems to be a resistance or a lack of recognition by yourself of yourself and who you are in the workplace, who and what you are at home, just within your own body, mind, your own value as a dearly loved divine child of the Great Mother, Father, God, who is never judged, condemned, or left alone. What choices are you still making that doesn't allow you to take full and complete charge of your life? And there are situations throughout our lives that we will have challenges in doing that. All of us are here to learn. And so if you're still having challenges with addictions or there's some parts of relationships that you just can't get through or handle, or it's just a really hard time for you to stay focused on certain things. We all have that, and being aware of it is what Great Mother is saying is where the power is for you. Being aware of it, being aware of what you need to sacrifice in order for you to be happy, healthy, and whole. And usually, when we're talking about Nefertiti and her wanting you to release anything that keeps you from owning your beauty, is we have to sacrifice our own judgments and condemnations of ourselves, especially if we've been conditioned to do so with abandon, in order for us to fully embrace our identity. We have to do that ourselves. Okay? And so by the end of September, there's a huge purge. There's a big purge of remaining energies that need to be looked at, that need to be sacrificed so that you can release it and course correct. Okay, again, we're getting ready for the next eclipse season coming up in November, and you've had a preview into what that's going to be about during the partial solar at the beginning of August, which showed you that what you're going to be challenged in doing in this next eclipse season is trusting your inner wisdom. So in doing that, absolutely own your power. Just own your power, own your beauty. This is facilitated by your ability to process all of this. And so it's a lot to process, but if you did heed Great Mother's advice to take the time that you need when you need it with Pachamama, well, then that is what makes processing accessible and easier than it is when we're constantly set on a routine, which can be a default of Virgo moon sign people. And so if this is breaking your routine, taking the time away to reflect, to diffuse, it is a sacrifice. This is a good example of what a sacrifice would be. Sacrificing a part of your routine that will allow you to integrate that space, that time, that grounding needed to establish new routines and new behaviors. Okay, so by accepting that you are loved and you know that you're loved by the Mother of Mother, Great Mother, and that you are coming to some understanding of MDT, and you know that your mother loves you, but it's a toxic, it's the way that she loves you, and because it's toxic, you yourself need time away to learn how to love yourself and re-engage in work and in other relationships in healthy ways. And all of this has come up, and you're processing all this. Now what? This is what the full moon in September, Aquarius is asking you in Nefertiti is now what? Well, now what is taking your power back? And so you will be able to do that by processing all of this. And so we don't just go through something and then, kind of shake our hands off, and that's it. We have to process our emotions when they come up, and that allows us to expend, amend, accept, forgive, and share our authentic selves with compassion, with nurturance and with humor. Something that our mother and our mother's mothers did not give themselves the luxury to do. And we have to learn how to do that. Anyone that you know of that has a healthy mother-daughter, mother-son relationship, that's exactly what they do. They take a beat and really sit in the moment. And they don't just operate off of conditioned responses. They're in the moment with their child. They're in the moment with their mothers. They're being authentic. We have to learn how to do that. We weren't taught how to do that. Our lifetime is learning those dynamics. And it's not poor me. It's actually a skill that our soul is learning how to do. And so though you may feel compelled to ignore the work that you've done, this is painful work. That's why I love what I do as a coach, is because I can support people encouragingly through this and through these readings. But this card reminds you that you cannot do the emotional work of someone else. You can't do your mother's emotional work. Just focus on your own work. And when you feel compelled to cross that boundary into her issues because of her insults, her insecurity, her victimization, these are all common responses to a child asserting who they are and what their needs are and what their values are, all of the stuff that you've been doing. So you're processing all of this. And so what she's telling you is that you may feel compelled to, again, caretake for your mother and that sort of thing because she's responding in the way that she is, or if she's passed and her impact on your life is still controlling your relationships, the people that you're around, who you haven't sacrificed yet, you love them, and so you still want to, but it's a process, right? And so processing, that's what this card is about. And so you want to be sure that you're asking yourself, where am I now with this? I know that my goal is to be X. I want to be at this place where, I'm not codependent. I don't need so-and-so's approval. But right now, I have this conditioned relationship where they're expecting me to want their approval. What do I do now? What do I really feel right now? How did I create this? How did I create this? Ask yourself how you created that kind of dynamic in your relationship. That's going to tell you how to uncreate it. Okay, so if we cultivate a relationship where our partner, our girlfriend, our friends, our coworkers are always expecting us to ask for their approval, ask yourself, how did I create this dynamic? From the first day that I got here, from when we first started dating, when we first met, what were the things that I was doing to constantly ask for approval? Once you know that, you'll know how to walk yourself back. So basically, what Great Mother is telling you is that you enter this eclipse season completely already in the process of rebirth. If not for some of you, again, having already been reborn in your new values and how you want to approach your life, your relationships at work, your creativity, maybe friends who are creating new relationships, new families, that sort of thing, how you are doing relationship in your life. And you end this eclipse season really acting on the intuitive growth that you've earned through your work with Great Mother, which is your intuition, which is your sidereal moon sign. And you can check the links below to double check. You may be Virgo in your sidereal as well. You want to watch both videos, Leo and Virgo, to see which one resonates with you the best as well. But what she's saying is that by the end of all of this, at the end of September, you will have a true sense of acting on what you know, what you feel, what you value, and the law of Divine Father will guide your way. It will guide your sense of justice in a situation that may, even throughout, have seemed to be unjust. You have a birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. And this is realized through the truth that you tell yourself, the integrity that you have with yourself. So confirm all of what Great Mother is saying through your own convictions of the Holy Spirit and your intuition. Have a wonderful third quarter of 2018. Hold on to your hats for this solar eclipse and lunar eclipse season. It's going to be a thoroughly cleansing one. Neither these readings or my coaching work are intended to replace, but rather enhance work in therapy, support groups, or 12-step programs. Some of you may elect to do this work on your own, but if you are an adult victim of physical or sexual abuse, I believe that professional help is essential for you. If you abuse drugs or alcohol to deaden your feelings, you must deal with your compulsion before attempting to work with the energies in the ways suggested here. There's no way to gain control of your life if you are being controlled by an addiction. For that reason, I insist that any of my clients who are substance abusers also join a program such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. The readings here are intended for those who have undertaken the healing work of MDT with a minimum of 6 months sobriety. Your emotions are extremely raw in the beginning phases of recovery, and there is always the danger that uncovering and exploring painful experiences during this time may cause you to slip back into substance abuse. It would be both unrealistic and irresponsible of me to suggest that if you follow the readings as suggested here, all your problems will disappear overnight. But I can assure you that if you do this work as suggested by Great Mother and you are otherwise healthy and on your healing path, exciting new ways of relating to yourself and to your parents and others are provided here, and you will be able to define who you are and how you want to live your life moving forward from this eclipse season. Not only that, you will discover a new sense of confidence and self-worth, self-love, and spiritual independence through the love of Great Mother. Enjoy your lunar cycle based on the messages of love, that Great Mother has given you. Remember that she truly does love you, and I do too.
I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the moon.